The wind came first, then the memory, then the ache that settled deep in his chest like an old bullet never dug out. The prairie spread wide and unforgiving, and Cole Ransom stood alone by the fence line at dusk, hat low, eyes on the horizon, when the words that would haunt him later were still unspoken. Folks said the West forgets nothing, not blood, not love, not promises made under open sky. And tonight the land felt like it was leaning in to listen. Cole had buried more than cattle on this ranch. He had buried a woman once, not in the ground, but in the quiet places of his life, in the empty chair by the stove. In the second cup of coffee he never poured, Clara May had ridden out 3 winters ago after a fight, sharp as barbed wire, and she never rode back. Folks said she married a preacher down south. Others said fever took her. Cole never asked. Some men would rather live with pain they know than truth they do not. The day Mara Whitfield arrived, the sky was the color of steel, and rain threatened, but never fell. She stepped down from the stagecoach with dust on her skirts and fire in her eyes. Hired to keep books and mind the place while Cole drove cattle north, she was not what he expected. She spoke plain, looked him square, and did not flinch at silence, which made him uneasy, because silence was where he kept his ghosts. Nights came early that fall, and the ranch house creaked like an old man settling into sleep. Cole and Mara shared meals with words kept scarce, but glances lingered longer than necessary. One evening the wind howled so fierce it rattled the windows, and Cole caught Mara staring into the fire, tears bright and sudden. When he asked what troubled her, she brushed them away and said nothing. But something in him shifted then, a warning, or a calling. It happened after a long day mending fence, hands raw, backs sore. The sky spread pink and gold. They stood close without meaning to, and Cole finally asked the question that had no safe answer. "You cryin' for something I done?" His voice, rough, not accusing, just tired. Mara looked up at him, eyes shining, and said, "You think I only cry for myself?" She swallowed hard. "I cry for us both, for what you lost, and what you still run from." The words hit harder than any fist. Cole stepped back like he had been struck. Anger flared first, because anger was easier than fear. "You do not know me," he said, but his voice shook. Mara did not retreat. She stood her ground like someone who had waited long enough. "I know hurt when I see it," she said, "and I know a man who punishes himself for loving once." The name Clara May hung between them without being spoken, the past rising like dust in sunlight. Cole turned away, jaw tight, the ranch stretching endless before him. He had sworn never to bleed again, never to hope, yet here stood a woman who saw straight through the armor he wore, and it scared him more than loneliness ever had. Night fell slow and heavy. Coyotes sang in the distance, and neither of them moved to go inside. Something had been broken open, something that could not be shut again. Cole finally said, low and raw, "I do not know how to be what you see." Mara answered just as quiet, "Then learn, or let me walk away now." And in that moment, under a sky that remembered everything, Cole knew the hardest ride of his life had just begun. Morning did not bring relief. It brought clarity sharp as frost. Cole rose before dawn and saddled his horse with hands that remembered other mornings, other rides taken to outrun feelings that would not stay buried. The ranch lay quiet, but his mind would not. Mara's words followed him across the pasture. "You punish yourself for loving once." He rode hard as if speed could shake them loose. Yet every fence post, every stretch of open land seemed to echo Clara May's laugh, her temper, the way she once said he loved the ranch more than he ever could a woman. He had denied it then, denied it now, but denial had never stopped truth from breathing. When Cole returned near noon, dust-caked and shoulders tight, Mara was in the yard hanging laundry. The simple sight of her stirred something unwelcome. She moved with steady purpose, not fragile as he had once assumed. Her strength quiet but certain. They exchanged no greeting, silence thick between them, until Mara finally spoke, said she had been married once. A union built on promises that sounded good, but cracked under weight. She told him how grief can live, even while someone still breathes. How you can mourn a future that never came. Cole listened without looking at her, because if he did, he feared he would finally see himself reflected back. That evening, a storm rolled in fast, thunder breaking open the sky, rain pounding the roof like an accusation. They were trapped inside together, fire burning low, shadows dancing across the walls. The storm stirred Cole's memories loose, and before he could stop himself, He spoke Clara May's name aloud for the first time in years. The sound of it almost took his breath. He told Mara how Clara left after he chose a cattle drive over her plea to stay, how pride kept him from riding after her, how regret grew roots. Mara listened without interruption, tears slipping free, not loud or dramatic, just honest. And when he finished, she said softly, "You do not owe the past your whole life." The storm passed, but something else settled in its place. A fragile truce between pain and possibility. Days followed where they worked side by side. Closer than before, conversations deepened, laughter surprised them both. Cole found himself watching Mara when she thought he was not. The way she hummed while cooking, the way she argued with the ranch hands and won. Yet each moment of warmth carried fear beneath it, because Cole could feel the ground shifting, and change had never been kind to him. Trouble came riding in the form of a letter, its edges worn, its words heavy, delivered by a passing rider who did not know the weight it carried. The letter bore Clara May's name, written in a careful hand. She was alive, widowed, and passing through the territory. Cole read it twice, then again, heart hammering. The past was no longer a memory. It was a decision standing at his door. He said nothing to Mara at first, but she sensed it. She always did. Her smile faded. Her eyes searched his face for answers he would not give. When he finally told her, the hurt was immediate and deep. Yet she did not rage, did not beg. She only asked one question: "Will you go see her?" Cole hesitated too long, and that was answer enough. The distance between them grew not from miles but from choices. Mara began packing her things, saying she would find work elsewhere, that she would not stay and compete with ghosts. Cole wanted to stop her, but fear wrapped tight around his tongue. Fear of choosing wrong, fear of losing twice. The night before Mara planned to leave, Cole stood alone by the corral, moonlight silvering the land. He thought of all the years spent guarding his heart like territory under siege, and how one woman's tears had cracked the walls. He realized then that running had always been his way, and staying was the risk he had never taken. The ranch felt emptier already, the silence louder than any storm. Dawn crept in pale and cold, and as Mara loaded her bag onto a borrowed horse, Cole stepped forward at last, his voice raw but steady, saying he did not know how the past would unfold, but he knew he could not keep choosing fear. Mara met his gaze, tears welling once more, not for herself alone, but for the crossroads they stood upon. And though no promises were made that morning, something fragile yet fierce took hold, a truth neither of them could ignore. The hardest part was no longer remembering, it was deciding who he would be when the past finally knocked. Clara May arrived 2 days later, just before sundown, riding a tired bay horse, her posture still proud, her eyes older but familiar. The sight of her struck Cole like a memory given flesh. Time folded in on itself, the woman he once loved standing at the edge of the ranch that had taken her place. She dismounted slow, taking in the house, the land, the man he had become. And for a moment neither spoke. The wind carried dust between them like years unsettled. Clara said his name the way she always had, soft but certain, and Cole realized then that love does not always die. Sometimes it simply hardens into something quieter, heavier. She spoke of her life, the preacher husband who had been kind but distant, the sickness that took him, the loneliness that followed. And as she spoke, Cole felt sorrow for her, but not the longing he once feared would return. They walked the fence line together, the same one where Cole had stood lost so many nights before. Clara asked why he never came after her, and he answered truthfully at last, saying he had been afraid of giving up the only thing he knew how to hold. The ranch, the work, the solitude. She nodded as if she had always known, and confessed her own pride had kept her from writing sooner. Their past unfolded between them not as accusation but understanding, and in that understanding Cole felt a strange peace, the kind that comes when regret loosens its grip, when wounds are finally allowed to breathe. That night, Cole watched Clara ride away under a sky washed clean by stars. There was sadness, yes, but also release. The past no longer a chain, but a chapter closed with care. He stood there longer than needed, then turned back, toward the house, toward the light still burning inside. Mara had stayed, not out of hope, but out of honesty. She waited at the table, hands folded, eyes searching his face for truth. And when he told her, Clara was gone, truly gone. Mara's tears came fast and quiet, and Cole asked the question again. voice breaking now, "You crying for me?" And she shook her head, saying, "I am crying for us both, for what we survived, and what we still dare to want." Cole crossed the room then, the distance between them measured not in steps but in years of fear overcome. He took her hands, rough palms to steady fingers, and for the first time did not pull away from the weight of feeling. He told her he did not know how to promise forever, but he knew how to choose today, how to stay, how to stop running when love asked him to stand. Mara answered that sometimes that was enough. That healing was not a sudden thing but a series of brave moments stacked together. The seasons turned as they always did, winter giving way to spring, the land greening, the ranch breathing easier, and Cole found himself changed in small but certain ways. Laughter came easier, silence no longer felt like punishment, and when sorrow visited, as it always does, he did not face it alone. Mara became part of the rhythm of the place, her presence woven into the days, and though the past still lived in memory, it no longer ruled him. One evening, much like the first, wind-low, sky-wide, they stood by the fence together. Cole spoke of the man he had been, the one who believed strength meant solitude. Mara leaned into him and said strength could also mean letting someone see you cry, letting someone cry with you, and Cole understood then the truth he had spent a lifetime avoiding. Love was not a weakness, it was the courage to risk being known. When the town gathered that summer for a small celebration, folks noticed the change in him, the way he smiled more, the way he stood beside Mara, as if the ground itself steadied him. There were no grand declarations, no sudden miracles, just a quiet life rebuilt with intention, trust earned one day at a time. And in that simplicity Cole found a deeper joy than any wide-open loneliness had ever given him. Years later, when the land was marked by more memories than regrets, Cole would remember the night he asked that question, the night tears became a bridge instead of a wall, and he would know that love had not come to save him from pain, but to teach him how to share it, and under a sky that still remembered everything, he was finally at peace with the man he had been, and grateful for the woman who cried, not just for him, but for them.